I'm not paying back my student loans. I do not care.
And then I'm sent to the concentration camps?
But if this motherfucker decides to garnish my paycheck, I have no point of going on. What's the point?
I don't even want to make this video because of how triggered people get these days, but
this is for the 9 million people who are going to default on their student loans. You're fine. If you think this government that just fired roughly 300,000 government employees has the ability to track and garnish your wages, you're fine.
So 5 million people in the United States right now are delinquent on their student loans. This is 38% of the borrowers are just not making payments. The United States government is thinking about garnishing people's wages. I don't think they're thinking about it. It's going to happen. If you're behind, you're looking at your paycheck not coming to you before Uncle Sam gets his. And can they do it? We'll see. This is an issue. This is a serious issue we got to talk about. We're going to watch some videos and we're going to see what the issues are. And we're going to talk about it. You'll get my opinion throughout the video. Let's go. This is wild.
I am so blown. I really am. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I had no intentions on paying my student loans back. Like, I really have not. Like, my motto was they gonna get it back in blood, but apparently they're trying to get it back in motherfucking blood. So, yeah, I'm about to just go for broke, pack a bag, take my dog, and get the fuck out of the United States to see what happens. Like, literally, what's the worst that could happen at this point?
I'm going to keep posting about this all day because this is bullshit. I went and logged into my federal loan account and this is what I found. I graduated in 2011 with $46,000 in student loan debt. My loan debt is now almost $90,000. In that time, I've been a social worker that has made income-based repayments on my loan for years, and that has almost doubled. You want to know why people are pissed off about their student loans? It's not because we can't get anyone else to pay them for us. It is because you have set it up where we can never pay them off ourselves. And then you sit here and tell us into our faces that we are lazy, that this is somehow our fault, while cheering on banks and auto industries and Elon Musk getting subsidies of millions of dollars a day. Anyone who still doesn't see that this is rigged against us can get...
I really have thought about this a lot. And growing up, we were told, you must go to college. You must go to college. Every school teacher I had told me, when you go to college, if you're not going to college, like you were a subhuman person if you didn't go to college. And it was just, you're going to go. My parents, you're going to go. And I was always thought that, well, somehow I've got to go or I might not exist anymore. There was no other options. Nobody taught me about other options. Nobody told me all these things out there that you could do to make a living besides going to college. But yet I looked at the career plans at the university and I was like, I don't want to do any of these. None of these sound cool. And how does that translate to a job? It amazes me, looking back, that there was not an appraisal system. Just like buying a house, an appraiser would go through and say, that degree is not worth what you're going to pay for it and you're not going to get it back. Would that have saved a lot of America a lot of heartache at 18 years old? You know, you can't buy a house at 18 with the money they would give you, but they'll give you an enormous amount of money to go get a degree that you don't even know you can make a living with. We got to ask some real questions. Let's keep going on this and see where it goes.
Comment section is getting absolutely flooded with comments like this, like, you got a student loan, just pay it back. Most people signed up for these loans when they were 18 years old. They did not understand the impacts it was going to have on their life, how expensive college was going to be, how much debt they were going to get into. And now they are starting off life with $50,000, $100,000 in debt. And it is so hard to get a job right now with a degree. And when you even get that job, it pays you hardly anything. It is not enough to even survive on, much less pay rent. How the fuck are you supposed to pay a loan back? That big. This is an exploitative system that targets 18-year-olds that don't have a fully developed prefrontal cortex. And then they become adults and they are riddled with debt in a mound of, like, in just such a big hole they can't fucking crawl out of. We're just celebrating other people's poverty? Is that what we're doing? That's gross. Shut the fuck up, seriously. This is gonna hurt 5 million Americans. That's insane. People will lose their homes. People will become homeless. Like, do you have a heart? They're not paying the money back to you. Why do you care so much? Seriously.
Hard work. That's it. You find a way. You find a way. If you really want to go take out the money, you find a way to do it, or you stop taking money out on educations that are not worth it. And these colleges need to rethink their degree plans.
I don't even want to make this video because of how triggered people get these days, but I have a little bit of a unique perspective on this, so here we go. I'm going to take the middle ground on this student loan debacle, and I'm going to tell you why. And since I don't know what age range is going to see this video, or I'm just going to paint the picture for you. I graduated in 2009, and if you weren't around at that time, the culture around college was way different than it is now. I mean, way different. It wasn't if you go to college, it was where are you going to college? The pressure from your parents, the teachers, your coaches, your other classmates was insane. They lightly would mention trade school or VOTEC, but it was like and some of you might go to tech school, and that's okay. I mean, if you want to be a welder, you might be okay doing that. It was basically making it seem like you would be under the bridge in a short period of time if you went to tech school. And they also painted the picture that the world after college would be super easy. You'll pay them back. You'll be making that money. And if anybody denies this, you're lying. So anyways, end of my high school career comes. The sports thing kind of fell through. I realized I ain't going to a 4-year. I decided I don't want to go to college at all. My parents never got the chance to go. They had a problem with that and were like, you're going to go to college. Now, they didn't offer to pay for it, but they said, you're going to college. So I chose a community college in Duluth, Minnesota. Thankfully, I chose a community college. I ended up going up there for 2 years, ended up staying the third year, only went to school for 2 years, but I did not finish. In that time, although I had the time of my life, I racked up a good amount of debt. Maybe not as much as some, but a good amount. And another part I'm ashamed to say, but you live and you learn, in my early 20s when I got back and I wasn't making any money, like $11 an hour, I let a couple of these loans default. So it ended up being about double what I owed. What did I do? I got into trade school. I became an apprentice iron worker in 2015. I graduated the apprenticeship in 2018. And by 2019, I had my student loans all paid off. And in that 4-year range, when I was paying those student loans off, it sucked. I didn't have barely anything. So my opinion on that part, do I think you should pay off your own student loans? Yes. Do I think that any other U.S. citizen is responsible for paying off your student loans? No. But the people that I see that are unsympathetic as all get out to the people that went to college are like, you knew exactly what you were signing up for. You knew you were taking out loans. What did you think was going to happen? I don't want to throw my mom under the bus for this, but like I said, they pretty much told me I was going to college and I was having so much fun after I graduated. I didn't sign up for one single loan. There is not one student loan that you could find with my signature on it because she filled out all the paperwork for me. So did I take out any student loans at all? No. But was it my responsibility to pay for? Yeah. But it does void the people that say you knew what you were taking out. I cannot stress to you enough how you don't just take a late stage teenager and give them this unhinged loan without sitting them down and explaining to them like a 2-week class on what's about to happen. I had no idea. And I'm willing to bet that a shit ton of people around that era feel the exact same way. It's not that you didn't know there was loans being taken. You had no idea what a loan really even was. What is this going to entail? And back to the teachers and the pressure and all these things. They painted this picture like when you're done, this is going to be easy peasy. You are going to pay this off. So I even knew people in 2009, 2010 that wouldn't even need to take out a loan because they got grants. They'd take out the loans anyways to pay for clothes and drinks and party and rent and all kinds of things because they had no idea what they were actually doing. And I know you're thinking, you were buying drinks. I'm not saying I was, but people were. The question is, why was the government giving you these at one click of a button? You didn't sit down with no loan officer. I know it's so easy to be unsympathetic to this, but be honest, what do you think this group of kids would have said if they said, hey, the interest in this is structured where if you're making the minimum payments, you ain't never going to get out from under it. You're never going to be able to buy a house, kid. Do you think that we would have did it? Those loans, they're criminal. It kind of reminds me of bum fights. If you know, you know. These people were going and giving homeless people pints of vodka and a couple of dollars of cash to do outrageous stunts. Did they know what they were signing up for? Absolutely. But were you baiting in a vulnerable crowd? Absolutely. And that's why they got sued. Do I think anybody should be paying off anyone's student loans? No. But I am absolutely sympathetic to the people that got pigeonholed into those loans because nobody was informed on what was really about to happen, and nobody was telling you that none of these fucking jobs were going to exist when you get done. And I'm not trying to not take responsibility for this. I am taking responsibility for this, but if something bad happens to a 17-year-old, you go, oh my God, they were just a kid. But in this scenario, you're like, you were an adult. You knew what you were doing. Just being unsympathetic and problematic. We were looking to the adults around us for the guidance that they so massively did not give us. So what's the solution to this? I don't know. As the liberals would say, since I didn't finish college, I don't know anything. But I'm hoping since y'all did finish college that one of y'all comes up with a solution for this. I'm just here to tell you it's not going to be the working class that pays for it. But I do think that the way those loans were structured and given out to these vulnerable kids is criminal. But to the people out there that are...
So here is a picture of me. Everybody in this formation right here had either gone to college or was trying to go to college. When I graduated officer candidate school, the majority of that formation there had college debt. And the Army had a system that if you joined and did 3 or 4 years, that they would pay your student loans up to a certain amount. It was a lot, like $80,000. Or they would give you the GI Bill or the 9/11 bill. And that, I chose to take the 9/11 to go to get my master's. I mean, the GI Bill. That's what I was there for, to pay for college. When I went to college, I had a college scholarship that I was able to get, or it would have been the Army. And I went to the cheapest school I possibly could. I used the Bright Future Scholarship that they said if I made a 3.0, that the state of Florida would pay for my school in state. I did that. I got a 3.0 and paid for my college. Went in the Army, paid for whatever else I wanted of college. Everybody in that formation was there to pay off their student loans. They found the ability to pay it off, or they didn't go. I would say that I wish I would have known that there was other things out there to do to earn a living rather than college. But I had picked that route, and the only way to get through it was to go in the Army. The military, the Coast Guard, the Navy, you can go to state service, you can go even get a law degree and go work at the state attorney's office for, I think it's 4 or 5 years, and they'll pay for most of your law school. There is a way. And I know not everybody is able to join the Army. That was my way of doing it. And when I got there, I was greeted by Ivy League kids that had racked up all the student loans that they couldn't get out from underneath. And they were ready to go to war, to Afghanistan, to Iraq, maybe get hurt to get rid of that student loans. But they were willing to do it. One of my good friends in the Army, she actually went to an all-girls school and said, you know what, I got to get rid of these student loans and I can't get a job. It's 2009. The economy had crumbled. I got to get a job. I got to get rid of these student loans. And that's what she did, along with a lot of my other friends. And there is a way. There is a way.
But if this mother decides to garnish my paycheck, I have no point of going on. What's the point? You're going to watch the suicide rates go way up, because how are we going to live? How? I have a college degree. I can't make more than $20 an hour. Yeah, I picked the wrong degree. Put myself in debt. 15 years ago, I thought I was doing a good thing, continuing my education while I still had little ones at home and a rambunctious teenager. I mean, and a husband and a home. I understand that we owe these student loans back. This is not free money. I get that. But these payment plans have been put in place so that people aren't sucked dry and can't afford to pay for anything else. I don't know what I'm going to do. I might have to enroll back in school and hope that, this is what I've been told in the past, that with your student loans and repayment, if you go back to school and take up more loans, then it kind of puts everything on hold while you're in school. So I'll just go to school the rest of my life. I don't know what else to do. I am disgusted. I'm scared. I'm worried. My daughter just took $10,000 in student loans out, and I had a long talk with her about these student loans. Honestly, if you can't afford to pay for school, don't go. Because these student loans now are going to destroy us. Every day, it just gets worse and worse and worse. There has not been a good day since that man stepped into office. There has not been one day of no bullshit. No bullshit. I'm at a loss. I've just been sitting here thinking I don't and will not have an extra $500. So I guess the only solution to my problem is to find a fucking man, find a fucking woman. We can pair up. We can put our income together, put our assets together. That's the only way this shit's gonna work anymore. If you're a single mom, there's no hope for us. They don't want us to get ahead. They don't. I feel like they're trying to kill off the underprivileged, the addicted, the homeless, the poor, our veterans. It's disgusting and it's sick, and I don't even want to be here. I don't even want to be here anymore. And to all you young girls in childbearing ages, I would not bring a child into this world. I would choose not to have children. I feel bad that I'm going to have to leave my kids in this fucked up world one day. Anyways, that's my 2 cents worth. I'm sure nobody will listen till the end. Nobody will have anything positive to say. It'll just, they just come at you all day long. If they know that you back the blue, you know, we're going to come for you.
But I will say the system was rigged against most of these kids. They gave you a high interest, unsecured debt. And you were 18 and you had no idea what you were trying to do. And then, fast forward, we know in retrospect, what happened. But the ones that are taking it out now, there really should be some course that you sit through to know what you're getting. Like, you should have some education on interest rates, time horizon of the note, and what happens if you don't pay it off. And a lot of these people, 20 years later, finding out what happens when you don't pay it off. But here's the thing. The federal government knows these people are not going to ever pay this money back. It is one of the largest things on the balance sheet of the U.S. government, student loans. And they know that you're going to pay them in student loans and interest for the rest of your life. You're going to pay your taxes and a lot of other things they're going to do to you, plus inflate the dollars. And that's how they have these humongous budgets. And until America figures out that entitlement programs, wars, all these crazy good idea fairies they spend money on comes from you in a number of ways. It comes from inflation, it comes from taxes, it comes from these debt notes, it comes from you paying sales tax, it comes from you doing all these things, allow these politicians to keep doing it. But if you grab these politicians by the coattails and say, we're not going to let you do this anymore, we're going to vote you out of office, they would quit doing it. But you know what? These politicians stay in office for 20, 30 years, and you go look at their stock trades. That's how they get rich. Between that and being gifted stuff under the table, and they do it to you, and they live behind their humongous gated communities with humongous bars on it, with bodyguards, with laws that protect them and not you. Their health care is different than you. And you know what? They don't have to live at the water cooler that we drink from. And they're allowed to keep doing this. This is not an if versus that. This is not I took loans out 20 years ago, now hate Donald Trump. No. All the politicians did it to you. From the time you took it out, you didn't read the note. And then you're like, oh my, poor me. Well, what about the person that took out a mortgage? His family lives in the house. And then all of a sudden he can't pay the mortgage. Therefore, what? We bail out all the mortgages next? I don't know. What about the people that had to buy things for their family that had it on credit cards? And then now they can't pay their credit cards. Do we forgive that debt too? Do we forgive all debt notes? You can't do one without the other. And it's an illogical statement to say if this, then that. You knew when you took out the debt, you were young and dumb, and I get it. We didn't have the parental guidance that told us to do this, but we were 18 and they said we're an adult. I want you to comment down below what your thought is. This is how we learn from this. You have one side argue with the other, have discord, and hopefully in the bottom, we get an end result. That's called freedom of speech. That's how ideas are created and brought to the finish line. And I guarantee you there is a young person out there that is trying to learn from what we talked about today. Reading the comments all the way down, that person or an older person is out there trying to learn how to get through what they're getting through. And that's how they're going to learn. That's how I learned everything I did to get to this point was free information on the internet, YouTube, reading books, and comment sections. Let me tell you, sometimes you gotta filter them, but there's some good information in the comment section, so comment down below.
Does that categorize me as a criminal and then I'm sent to the concentration camps?
This is for the 9 million people who are going to default on their student loans. You're fine. If you think this government that just fired roughly 300,000 government employees has the ability to track and garnish your wages, you're fine.
If I could give any advice, don't listen to that advice. The federal government has the ability to pop up on you in the most random ways. It could be 20 years from now. It could be a random IRS attachment. It could be a judgment. It could be you never getting your tax returns back. You know, the money you get when you pay your taxes, getting that back. When the employer garnishes your wages and you got to file garnishes your wages as in, how they withhold every year and then you have to file your taxes to get that money back, you'll never see it. And there'll be an interest on it. It'll be a crazy interest rate. When you go to sell your house and there's an IRS, I got you attached to it, you can't sell it until you pay them. If you inherit anything, down the line, Uncle Sam has his ways. But that is not advice. That's just me telling you, you know how that goes. Disclaimer.
I'm not paying back my student loans. I do not care. Oh, but what about your credit score? What am I going to do with a good credit score? Buy a house on starvation wages? Buy a car I can't afford to insure? I'm not paying them back. I don't give a shit about my credit score. Oh, they're going to garnish your wages. Most of us are underemployed. If they start taking additional money out of my paycheck, I just won't work. My life will not get worse. I'm not going to have the money anyway, so you can't garnish what isn't there. I grew up in a far-right, conservative, hardcore Republican family, and since kindergarten, I have been conditioned to believe that if I did not go to college, I would not be successful. I was told that if I locked in, got great grades in high school, got into college, focused, and got my degree, that I would have a life similar to the life my parents had, where my dad worked one job for 35 years, was able to buy a house and go on vacation and support his family. That doesn't exist anymore. There's no jobs out there with pension plans. There's no jobs out there that let people my age just buy a house. So what was all that work for? Generations of Americans have been told that if they went to college and they did the right thing, took out these loans, that it would be worth it. And most of us are finding out it's not even remotely close to worth it. You're telling me these millionaires and billionaires were able to get these PPE loans forgiven that they took out during the pandemic for millions of dollars, but I have 30 grand in college debt left and I'm refusing to pay it back and now I'm the problem?
I'm sorry, I just can't follow this because it's illogical. The entitlement that came from his statement saying that where are these jobs? There are plenty of people out there making a good living. You can't pick a degree program that's just terrible. Some entrepreneur said, you know what, I'm leaving the job force and I'm going to go start a business. And I know many people that have done that. I have a friend, he, at 20 years old, he was selling real estate like hotcakes. And he dropped out of college to be a real estate agent, making $200,000 or $300,000 a year. He said, you know what? I'm a salesperson. This is what I'm going to do. Different than what we were told. But there are jobs out there. There are government jobs. There are entrepreneurial jobs. There are jobs in the private sector. But you have to be willing to get outside of your little sphere, your little echo chamber, and not just sit down and say, I can't do this. You got to say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to figure out how to do it. $30,000. Okay, I'll bartend at night. I will, get my job during the day. And in 5 years, I'm going to have this $30,000 paid off and I'm going to go make some money. I've never been one to sit there and have this defeated mentality and blame the president or blame somebody else for a debt I took out. That is not how you do this. And I know TikTok can be an echo chamber, but don't think that the president of the United States is keeping you from learning or earning a living. He is perfectly able to go out and jump into another sector. I'll say this, my battalion commander, he was a colonel, had an art degree. It was completely worthless, and he would tell you that. But he found a place in the United States Army where you only needed a degree. All you needed was a degree. You didn't even need it to be in anything. And you could get a commission in the United States Army. And he stayed there for 25, 30 years. And he knew that was his bread, and that's what he was going to do. There are always a check-the-box government thing out there that all you need is that degree. But to sit there and say, well, wages are just not there. They are there. You just have to get out of the area where you are and go where it's needed. I know a lot of people are going to push back on that. Like, well, it shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is. And us little people have no ability to change the scenario of the dominoes that are stacked up. They are just the way they are, and we have to adapt. As an entrepreneur, you just adapt to the chessboard, right? And that's why I try to teach entrepreneurship so much. Don't let the man tell you what you can and can't do. Go out there and produce, and it will become the thing. He's probably a great marketer. He's on TikTok. Go start a marketing firm. There are ways. Go start a sales firm. Go, start a TikTok channel, start a YouTube channel, like go do art. There are so many things you can do. I can't take this defeated thing. I just can't do it. Listen to this next guy. The debtor will always be slave to the lender. It's biblical. And these people will be paying for this. They'll be working for the rest of their life to pay for a debt note that was structured for you to fail, that you were given to you when you were too young, and there was no guide rails for it. And they went full throttle with these things and then sold them to the federal government. Now, let's go a step further. These universities knew that this debt was backed by the federal government and that you could not bankrupt this note. And what did they do? They just raised the price of college up. They made it fun. They put rock climbing walls in the gym. They put concerts at the university. They made college so fun on college game day that everybody wanted to be there and would be talking about their alma mater for the next 50 years. Oh, by the way, you're going to be paying for that for the rest of your life. Non-bankruptable. You never sign up for a non-bankruptable note. There's a saying in real estate with owner financing. That's when you own a house outright and you sell it to somebody and they pay you the mortgage every month, just like a bank, that since it's the risk out, and as an 18-year-old, you're highly risky, the interest is going to be way higher. But usually those real estate guys will make it to where you'll never catch that note. 100% finance, 8, 10, 12%, 11%, 11% interest rate. You'll never catch it. They are betting on you to fail. So they get the house back. They've gotten all the interest you've paid them, plus the down payment if there was one. They get that back and they sell it again and again and again and again. And that is what is going on with the student loans. Now, I believe you should pay back every dime you take. But I also think there should be some guidance on these kids getting it. But think about what would happen if they did that. These universities would not be getting as much money. These rock climbing walls, concerts, all the stuff, student housing wouldn't exist. And there's this big circular problem going on that if you just take one pebble out, these universities lose the big overstaffed administration they get. These big budgets, these good idea fairy grants. I hear about these professors that get this grant money from the state. Where did that money come from? Or the university just gets it from a grant somewhere to do a study for something that somebody paid for. And you're like, you just spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on that to find out whether mice will live in a hole or whatever it may be. I was astonished with what a lot of this money is done for. And these professors make huge amounts of money. And if you're an expert in the industry, but yet you don't have a PhD, you can't work and speak on that topic at that university. You have to bake into the system of academia to be in academia. It's not the best speaking on the subject. It is a rigged system. And that's really what I got to say about this. I mean, what do you think? Comment down below. Whether you agree with me, don't. We got to learn from this. Be civil because there's a lot going on. This is not an if versus that. This is a humongous system that is baked against people. And the pot has gotten hotter and hotter slowly. And now people are looking around and being like, you know what? I'm trapped. There's no way out. And you're like, well, what's the alternative? Well, they ruin your credit. They take your tax return. You can no longer buy a house, get a car. You can't get an apartment because your credit's terrible. And now you're going to be paying elevated rent prices because you got to live in a bad part of town because you got bad credit. and you're driving a beater. It is a rigged system. Politicians did this over the course of many years. Not one party or the other. They all are one head of the same snake. So that's all I got. See you guys later.